2017. Welcome to your Weld County School District 6 Board of Education meeting. It's Monday, January 9th, 2017. This meeting will now come to order. Will you join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. Okay.
Roll call, Ms. Richards?
Mr. DeWitt,
Present.
Mr. Hafley,
Present.
Mr. Hall, Mr.
Mr. Hall is excused this evening. Excuse me.
Mr. Lydiak,
Present.
Ms. Pappas,
Present.
Dr. Richard,
Present.
Mrs. Solis,
Present.
6 members present.
Well, thank you. I want to do a little play-by-play here this evening and remind folks that Ms. Lindsay Richards is helping us as Assistant to Chief Academic Officer, and she stepped in to kind of be the guardian of the board and our superintendent for a short period of time. I'm also pleased to thank and introduce Ms. Christina Crane. Thank you for joining us from a district not to be mentioned, and you're going to be now the Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and the Board of Education.
Thank you.
Welcome. We've been on our best behavior, but soon we'll really show you who we really are, but we do welcome you, and we're glad to have you here. The next item is the hearing of persons desiring to speak before the Board of Education. I have one person who's expressed an interest in speaking, and that's someone known to us all, Pat Otto. Welcome up. I don't know what happened there.
I can't see
Very
all of
tall
you.
person was there.
President DeWitt, Dr. Pill, to members of the board, thank you for allowing me to come forward this morning, or this evening, sorry. It's morning someplace. I have 3 Starfish Awards that I'd like to give out tonight. The first one, I'm going to ask Mr. Dunbar to come forward. He knows nothing about this. My first Starfish Award is going out to the Grounds Department. I want to thank you for making a difference by working multiple nights to remove snow, ensuring our schools were safe for students and staff. And for those in the public who don't know, our grounds crew was going in at midnight, working a very long, very cold shift all last week to make sure that parking lots and sidewalks were as ready as they could be with continual snow and a really cold weather. My second one, this group couldn't be here tonight because they're all back at the shop working. This is for the District 6 mechanics. I wanted to thank them for working extended days by going in at 3 in the morning to start buses on those cold days and working late to ensure our students have safe buses to ride. Many of our mechanics were working 16, 17, 18-hour days last week between ensuring our buses started and then doing their usual maintenance. So I will make sure that they get that one.
Thank you very much.
And my last one, Miss Smith, if you will come up. She had no clue. We had her going. Your help is not needed at the front table.
Thank goodness. I was a little stressed on that.
Megan, my counterpart, worked up a story to get her here tonight. So I wanted to thank Gina. Through her generosity of time, she has made a difference for many current and retired employees of the district and community members. Many of you know Gina worked her morning, afternoon, stayed late with the community meetings when we were working on the mill levy pieces. Gina's worked with me on some documents that we were trying to record, get information, and we were needing signatures from employees who have worked here previously. Gina would go on her own time after work to nursing homes, to people who couldn't drive anymore to their homes, and getting signatures for us. And those are just 2 examples of the time that Gina continues to go above and beyond with her time and helping in whatever manner she can. So I wanted to recognize her as well tonight.
Thanks, Pat, and congratulations to all of those groups. And Gina, it suggests you should come here more often. Okay. The next item is the work session report. Ms. Richards?
Board of Education President Roger DeWitt began the work session with open comments and updates from the board members. He reviewed the board calendar and upcoming events. Superintendent Dr. Deirdre Pilch introduced Mr. David Edwards, Ms. Caitlin Konechny, and Ms. Courtney Luce, who presented information on the Fred Chartis School of Innovation. Director of Finance Mandy Hydock spoke regarding the location of the school and discussed the updated budget document. The group also discussed the student recruitment plan and proposed waivers. Board members had time for questions and comments, and that concluded the work session.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Pilch, it's your turn.
Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Well, like you, I want to welcome everyone to 2017. It's always fun to start a new semester here in District 6, and we have our students back, and we are up and running in spite of the tricky weather last week. And welcome to Christina Crane, our new executive assistant, and thank you to Lindsay Richard for backing up and helping in that transition. Thank you both very much. Glad to have you here. So those of you who've been used to just calling Bernie, it's now Christina who you are calling if you're trying to reach the superintendent, Christina Crane. So I too want to say a little bit about the weather last week, and thank you, Ms. Otto, for recognizing our staff. It is amazing the work that goes into preparing for a school day when snow is forecast and when snow comes, as well as the cold weather. And you know, I know it can be so frustrating to families wondering, are we going to have school or not? Well, I'm here to tell you, most often we are going to have school. Calling school off will always be the last resort, because what we know is that once our students are with us, they are safe, they are warm, they are well educated, and they are well fed, and that's where we want them every single day. And it is always a parent's right to make that decision if they so feel it is necessary to have their child remain at home for their own child's safety. And we honor that and we respect that decision on the part of parents. I just want to remind everyone of that. I think I shared with you all last year, but I want to just share with you again that really hours and hours of preparation goes into the decision of whether or not to hold school when it is snowing and when heavy snow is forecast and when it is very cold. But we typically start very early in the morning around 3 a.m. Trying to make that decision. And several of us, including me, we go out and we drive the district and we look at the roads, we see what the conditions are like, and we do that for a few hours. And then we're also in contact with other school districts, as well as with the city of Greeley, advising us on what they're seeing in terms of the city conditions and the city roads. And then we're also thinking about what is it we must do to have those schools open. So it isn't just about can the buses get there. Because you know, our buses, if they're running, which was a problem with the cold, but if our buses are running, they actually can go in much deeper snow than the typical car can. So it's much more than just can the buses get there. It's also can we get the sidewalks clear? Can we get the parking lots clear? And can we count on our students who walk and the parents who walk our students to school to get them to school? Are the conditions safe to do that? So a lot goes into our decision making. You know, we have 25 schools that our crews were removing snow from the parking lots and the sidewalks and then sweeping with these big machines. I had to ask Brian Dunbar today, what is a sweeper exactly? But sweeping with the big machines to actually clear those sidewalks once they've been plowed. And occasionally, as was the case last week, we might miss a door. And out of 50 doors at Central High School, we missed one main door on the west side of the building. I know, crazy. You know, a lot goes into these decisions, and our folks are out there. And Pat said at 12 a.m., they actually started working at 11 p.m. that night, started plowing parking lots and sidewalks to be ready for the next day. So, of course, by the time kids arrived at school, some of those parking lots and sidewalks had accumulated some more snow. So we have about 8 or 9 different routes that 8 or 9 different plow drivers run to get our parking lots and our sidewalks cleared. So it's really big work that must go on. And then on top of that, our mechanics and bus drivers are at the bus barn very early in the morning, starting those buses, making sure that they're warm and that they can run safely for our students. And that was one of our issues this past Friday, was just really, with those severe cold conditions, our buses just simply could not run in those conditions. And then our building managers, those head custodians at the building, they're out there very, very early in the morning, beginning to shovel the walks and checking the building. So checking for frozen pipes and checking for any other issues that come with severe weather conditions. We are pretty fortunate. We did have a few frozen pipes, but I'm aware of only one significant burst, which created a terrible mess. And as a result, those same crews were in that building, working over the weekend to have that school ready for today. So these are the folks that are kind of behind the scenes, making sure that every single day, school is ready for kids, that our environment around our schools is ready for our kids and our staff. And, a huge shout out goes out to each and every one of them. They did take a few hits on Facebook. That darn Facebook, people sure don't have a hard time being mean there when they're anonymous on Facebook. They did take a few hits on Facebook, but I have to tell you, my advice to them, and I sent them an email today saying so, is let that roll off your back, because they are doing one heck of a job. When I was out driving at 4 a.m. last Thursday morning, the day we decided to have school, what I saw was our plow folks were in those parking lots. They were plowing those parking lots. Many of the parking lots were already plowed when staff and I got out there to check the condition of our parking lots. That is because of the tremendous staff we have. And Brian, please pass that on to your colleagues. Kudos to all of you. Thank you so much for all that you do. We could not run school without the folks in the background in nutrition services, transportation, operations, facilities, grounds. We simply could not. So thank you to all of you. All right, Mr. DeWitt, I'm kicking it back to you.
Cool.
That's all I've got. I went on for a while, but it was a big deal to me.
It was.
So thank you for letting me do that.
Good investment of time, ma'am. Something you'd said, by the way, was that we didn't want students waiting at the bus stop at 39 degrees below
Right.
zero when the buses might have been slowed down a bit. So all of these things go into this tough decision, which you end up making, and we're grateful that we don't have to. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was one of the questions, who makes this decision? And I make that decision. And I don't make it unilaterally. I have a lot of staff who are helping me. I'm talking with other superintendents in the area. We actually prescribe to a very sophisticated weather service. We're on the phone with them directly, really getting up to the minute advice on what the weather is doing. And, we knew those cold temperatures were predicted, but, it's Colorado. And gosh, if it really didn't get that cold, I'm having school. So, but when we got up at 3:30 in the morning, we saw how terribly cold it was. We knew the decision to cancel was necessary for the safety of our students and staff.
Well, thanks for that. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and that's an action item. I'd be glad to hear a motion to that effect at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Roll call, Ms. Richards?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of the consent agenda, and that is also an action item. I'd be glad to take a motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve items as presented on the consent agenda and authorize the officers to sign any and all contracts.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments? Roll call, Ms. Richards?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. The next item is public notice of meetings and designated posting sites, and we're going to be compliant with regulations by stating where we plan to identify our official meetings. This is an action item. I'd be glad to take a motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the Administration Building West Lobby and the district website as designated posting sites for public notice of meetings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I do want to read the notice. It's a notice of public meetings in accordance with Colorado Revised Statutes 246401C. Notices for all Board of Education meetings will be posted at least 24 hours prior to holding of the meeting in the following designated posting sites: Weld County School District 6 Administration Building West Lobby and the district website. The posting shall include specific agenda information where possible. So we're compliant with the expectations by agreeing to this. May we have any questions or comments before we hit the roll call for this? Roll call, Ms. Richards.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much.